Hello guys, welcome back to another video. In this one, I'm going to be discussing if the Galaxy A14 5G is still usable in 2025. If it's still a good budget phone, if it's still usable, and whether you should buy one on the used market. And if you already have one, should you upgrade just yet? Let's find out. Now, before I start, I'd like to say that this phone is water damaged. Unfortunately, I do not have a working A14 5G, so I'll have to use this one for the review. So I'll have to mark my words for it, but I will still give a review nevertheless. Starting off with the build quality, this phone has a full plastic build, but it does have a very nicely textured back, which kind of makes it not feel cheap. And this phone really doesn't feel cheap at all. I mean, it is fully plastic, but it's not creaky. It doesn't bend very easily. It's durable, and it is chunky and heavy, which I definitely like. So this is a well-built phone for the price. It also has the triple camera design, similar to even like the S25. So from a distance, you could easily be fooled to think that this is a higher-end phone. So yeah, it definitely has that Samsung design language still going for it. It even has a headphone jack, which is very nice. Most budget phones even today do not have that, so that's definitely a welcome surprise. For the screen, this phone has a 6.6-inch 1080p 90Hz LCD display, and it's best described as decent. Compared to something like the Galaxy A06 and A07, this is definitely a step up, as those still have 720p screens. But this is still only an LCD. It's not going to be an OLED screen. It's not going to be the best of the best. But a 1080p resolution is definitely nice on a budget phone. It's not to be taken for granted. And the 90Hz refresh rate is also pretty good. It's not going to be a great looking display. It's not an OLED, but it gets the job done. And for a budget phone, I think it's perfectly adequate. Speaking of perfectly adequate, this phone has a MediaTek Dimensity 700 processor. There is also a more powerful variant with an Exynos 1330, but I think that's limited to certain countries. I have the MediaTek model here. This phone comes with 4, 6, or 8 gigs of RAM, as well as 64, 128, or 256 gigs of storage. This particular one has 4 gigabytes of RAM and 120 gigs of storage. And overall, this phone performs fairly decently. The Dimensity 700 is essentially like a Helio G99 without 5G, which means this phone should perform very similarly to like an A07. This phone runs Android 15 as its latest version of Android, and it will probably not get One UI 8 according to Sam Mobile, which is a real shame because I think this phone is actually powerful enough for One UI 8. I mean, the Galaxy A06, which is a less powerful phone than this, will get One UI 8. But then again, it is a slightly older phone, so that's not to be unexpected. Still, this phone is definitely adequate for your day-to-day tasks like browsing the web, social media, all that kind of stuff. This phone is perfectly adequate, and even some casual gaming is possible. Now, I would definitely not play Delta Force or Apex Legends on this phone, but for lighter games like Asphalt, like Call of Duty Mobile, not Warzone by the way, this phone is perfectly fine. Now, just the cameras, this phone has a 50 megapixel main camera, as well as a 2 megapixel macro and depth camera, which once again get the job done for the price. It's nothing amazing, but they're okay. They are perfectly adequate for what you want in a budget phone. But the 2 megapixel macro and depth cameras are basically useless. So you're essentially just focusing on the main camera, which is fine, but nothing amazing. It also only shoots 1080p video. The front camera is 13 megapixels, and it's actually pretty good for a phone at this price. A lot of these phones still have 8 megapixel selfie cameras like the A07, so this is definitely a welcome improvement. It's not going to be a great front-facing camera in the grand scheme of things, but it should get the job done. Battery-wise, this phone has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, just like pretty much every other Samsung phone released in the last 2 to 3 years. And yeah, battery life on this phone should be pretty good to last a full day of use. This phone also only has a single speaker, which is a bit unfortunate, but nothing to really complain about for a budget phone. Overall, I think the A14 5G definitely is still usable in 2025. I would say it's a good budget phone with decent build quality, screen performance, an okay camera experience, and good battery life. If you can find one on the used market for about $75, $80 or less, I would say it's worth it. You're still getting a good budget phone. The main issue I have with this phone really is software support. It probably won't get Android 16. Android 15 will likely be its final update. So if you want to run a newer version of Android, you would have to install custom ROMs in the future, which is something that is possible. And I did it on a few other phones, but it's not recommended to everyone. But still, I would say the A14 is a solid budget phone that gets the job done, and if you can find it for cheap, then I do still recommend it. Now, a good upgrade from this phone would be like a Galaxy A26 or above. An A16, I would say, is not really a big enough upgrade. You're really paying for that AMOLED screen more than anything else. The A16 4G basically has the same level of performance as this phone, and the 5G version is only slightly better. A Galaxy A17 would also be a good upgrade with that Exynos 1330 processor. Or the A17 is essentially just an A26, just very slightly worse. But yeah, this is still a good budget phone. It will get the job done, and it's still definitely usable in 2025. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.